Let's use our understanding of the imaginary I to write, simplify, and work with complex numbers. Every complex number that we work with should take the same form, a plus bi. This first part is referred to as the real part of the complex number, and this second part is referred to as the imaginary part of the complex number. For this expression here, we're going to leave the 6 outside of the radical and imagine doing the same split here that we've done before. 32 has a perfect square factor of 16, leaving behind a 2, and now our extra consideration for the -1. Notice that this is still a product. All four factors are being multiplied together, and we take the simplifying from there. This is 4, this is I, putting it all together, 24 root 2 I. If we wanted to consider this as a true complex number, however, we have to remember that this is the form that we are looking for. Because there is no addition in this anywhere, the consideration is that there is no real part to this complex number. There is only the imaginary part. Now, it might not seem like this is entirely relevant to the writing of the number, including that 0. However, as you get into more sophisticated problem-solving techniques that involve complex numbers, it's going to be very important that you're able to delineate between the real part of the number and the imaginary part of the number. Understanding that the real part of the number could be 0 is an important step in that development. Let's try another. Here we have 4 plus root -9, obviously different right off the bat because of the presence of that plus sign. I'm going to leave the 4 alone for the time being, and I'm going to look just at this part over here, the square root of -9. Well, if it was the square root of 9, I would know that that's 3. The presence of the negative means that it's going to be 3i. And we have a real part, and we have an imaginary part. So depending on the setup of the original expression, we might have a real part and an imaginary part. We might just have an imaginary part, but for the majority of this section, we're at least going to have an imaginary part because this becomes very uninteresting and falls right back into the work that we've already done in this module for simplifying radicals if we don't have that imaginary part. So remember, in those cases where maybe there isn't a real part, maybe we don't see that plus sign, we can still include it. But at the same time, if that plus sign is there, there is a clear distinction between the real part and the imaginary part identified very quickly by the presence of the I.